In Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, we found out that Leia indeed trained to be a Jedi. And we got to see her lightsaber, which was later used by Rey to defeat Palpatine. I know it's not exactly everyone's favorite film, but it did introduce to us a very interesting thin neck lightsaber. And we actually have 3 different versions of this lightsaber, one of which my wife carried at our wedding in place of a bouquet. Which one is the best one? Which one can you spin or duel with? Well, stay tuned and let's find out. Greetings, knowledge seekers. The Force is with you. I'm Priyon Joni, and you're watching Lightsaber Culture. Today we're checking out a version of Leia's lightsaber from NSABERS called the Leia SE. And we'll be comparing them to 2 other versions of the same lightsaber that we have here. I want to give a huge thank you to NSABERS for sending this lightsaber to check out so we can deep dive on the features together. Use my discount code PriyonJoni to get additional savings off of this or any lightsaber from NSABERS. If you end up enjoying this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon. Doing so helps me reach out to the force of the algorithm to share this with more folks like you. Sharing will help us make more lightsaber content like this for you. So the SE comes in 2 electronic tiers. You can get it in baselit for $209 or the Neopixel tier loaded with the NPixel V4 Pro electronics for $299. Not sure if it's out of stock or if there's no premium Profi tier, but we only see these 2 offerings on the website. Now the one that I have here is the Neopixel tier with the NPixel V4 Pro board. This recently released board is great because it has some realistic blade flicker that you used to only get from a Profi board. Since SE models are typically more affordable than the Hero version, a medium tier board with these features is a steal. So if you're asking what an SE version is, here's what it means. It hasn't been clarified if it stands for Stunt Edition or Special Edition, but essentially it's a toned down version of a character saber. It's generally a version that has removed details from it, many times ones that get in the way when you do stunt work, spinning, or dueling. A great YouTube channel called Collector's Outpost even described it as being similar to the stunt versions used on set when filming. So we have this side by side with our other 2 Leia lightsabers. In the middle right here is the closest one to the Hero version that we have, and you'll notice how close it is to how it looks to the SE version. Now the Hero version and the SE version both come from NSABERS, and the skinnier one is from Dual Sabers. These 2 from NSABERS are actually both manufactured at the TXQ factory, while the skinnier one comes from the LGT factory. I'm going to do a video later on lightsaber wholesalers, but in a nutshell, if you've been shopping for custom third-party lightsabers, you'll notice that there are many different online stores selling the same lightsaber but branded slightly differently. Sometimes they can be identical while others have their own custom electronics. Now this Hero version and this LGT one both used to be on the NSABERS site, but now they only have the SE version. They asked me to actually compare all these 3. I never got a chance to review the middle one because I wanted to wait till after our wedding because Jade, like I said earlier, used it in the photos and the ceremony at our wedding, after which NSABERS no longer offered it. And I've been referring to the middle one as the Hero version because it's the closest model that we see to the one we see on film. Now, I never trash on Disney or Hasbro sabers. They're generally more affordable in most cases and make great collector pieces. But when it comes to thin necks, the middle one right here is much more film accurate. And also, though I know the Disney one isn't plastic, the finish on that one makes it seem like it is. Now the LGT one, I speculate that this one was designed before the photos of the original film props were available. From what I've seen in the market, these saber wholesalers can be pretty fast at getting a hilt out to market. Sometimes a saber can be introduced at the beginning of a series, and before the series ends, a wholesaler had already built it and have the resellers taking pre-orders. I feel like this one was built before there was direct reference. The color is closer to a yellow gold with a hint of rose and has a thinner body overall. I don't mind the diameter on this because it does feel easier to grip. But the biggest thing that stands out is the fact that the emitter rings aren't that wide. In fact, it's about the same diameter as the body, while the original prop is wider at the emitter than the rest of the body. And during my original review of this lightsaber, I was able to seat the blade okay with it, but later on, the blade did have a tough time staying seated on this emitter. So despite being comfortable to grip when you spin, it does have issues that many thin necks have when keeping the blade in place. Now, the base of the button is angled like the original, but the button itself feels straight. So when you compare it to the Hero version, there's an angled button with an angled base. The LGT one has an angled base with a straight button. And one thing I did notice, whenever you remove the grip on the emitter, there is a little bit of like almost a grind and sometimes a squeak. Right now it's being smooth, probably from all the times I've had to remove it. But I feel some resistance sometimes at random spots. Oh, there's the squeak. I mention this because it's something where I usually don't notice on most TXQ lightsabers. See, check when I pull out the pommel. Comes out a lot smoother. See, when I pull out the pommel on the LGT one, I hear more squeaking and a little bit of resistance. Whoops. Then when I pull out T1, a little bit of noise, but I'm not feeling that resistance. It actually feels really, really smooth. Same goes for the SE version. In fact, the SE version is even smoother. See, when I'm removing pieces, the TXQ ones always seem to be better machined. Now, here are the weights of each one of these. So LGT, right here, 0.871 of a pound. The Hero version from TXQ, 1.1 pound, a little bit of a heavy saber. Makes sense, it's a little bigger. And the SE version, I'm gonna guess this might be slightly even heavier because it is a little bigger. Yep, 1.235 pounds. Between the SE model and the Hero model, they both have nearly, if not the same exact color, and generally have closer to the same proportions. The pommel to me looks exactly the same, but the D-ring on the SE is slightly wider. You can barely see it here. And the SE has some friction on the D-ring, which is great, while the one on the Hero model is loose. When we get to the grip portion, these vertical metal, let's call them frets, are slightly different. I can see the ones on the SE are ever so slightly thicker. And if I were to guess why they did this, I noticed that it keeps the screws from protruding. It actually feels smoother on the SE than it does on the Hero version, where I can kind of feel the screws. Speaking of smoother, the SE doesn't have these pearl-like inlays which make the grip portion less restrictive. You see how smooth that is right there? And the biggest difference between the two, the SE has a lower profile button right here, and it doesn't stick out as much like the Hero version. See, look at them from the side right here. One cool thing about the Hero version is that there's a secondary button strategically placed to match the inlay detail around the button section. See, that right there is a button, and it matches all these other inlays all around there. Now, the bottom ring on the thin neck looks nearly identical when you look at it from the side, right here. But when you look at it from the top and the bottom of the ring, you can see more detailed patterns on the main version. Here's the Hero version, and look at inside, kind of like where the spokes are, right there. And then here's what it looks like kind of from the top. Hopefully you can see that right in here. Now look at the SE version. The spokes are much thicker and simpler. Same goes for the bottom. They basically just match the top. Now, a huge difference between all three of these, like I mentioned earlier, is the emitter. All of them have a slightly different emitter. On the LGT, the bottom brace are really small right here. On the Hero version, they're a little sharp right here when you touch it. It's not so bad that you can't lightly touch it, but I would be very careful placing my hand there when I spin. It actually feels like it could cut you. And that sharp spot right there is the reason why Jade didn't use it on her wedding lightsaber duel. It wouldn't be cool if the bride's hand started to bleed during the wedding. On the SE, however, the whole area is completely smooth, making it way more comfortable to grip near the emitter. Now let's put these really, really close. On the SE version, the emitter cup itself is much taller than on the original. The reason for this is to seat the blade more securely. The original isn't really terrible, but the SE gives you enough room to keep it on tight if you chose to duel with it. I really wish we had the SE version during the wedding because then Jade could use this in the duel. But from what I can see, the top of the emitter, they both look identical around the rim. Now, before we go into the electronics of the SE version, let's check out what the SE comes with in the box. We'll put these two away for now. So, right here. So it comes with these white handling gloves with now the NSABER logo. Kind of like them, kind of reminds me of the Mickey Mouse gloves, but they feel more comfortable and more durable than previous white gloves I've seen from NSABER, so I really like these. And it has a little bit of more grip on the fingertip. Comes with an acrylic display stand, and I know we've seen this before on the channel. In the toolkit box, open this up, we have the blade plug, a display plate for your stand, and here are your Allen key, set screws, and USB-A to C charging cable. Friendly reminder, only charge with no more than a 5-volt charger so you don't fry your board. We have our product manual to help you get around the electronics. And lastly, it comes with a 32-inch dual-ready Neopixel blade. And this right here, minus the yellow work mat, is everything it comes with. Now let's put on the blade and turn this thing on.
Power on.
Now you'll notice the saber actually has an indicator light on the button, which is very much needed in this case because it's only a single button design. But to make things easier to browse around on the settings of the saber, the NPixel V4 Pro works with a Bluetooth app called the Force Park V2, which you can get for iOS and Android. Switch the blade color.
Leia.
We're on the Leia sound font now. Let's turn it on, switch blade effect.
Battery in. Standard ignition.
Different ignitions.
Road can. Road swivel. Road swivel. Road pause.
Now you can use gestures to turn it on and off. You also have flash on clash. Blade lockup. And back on the app, you also have some realistic blade flickers. Classic flicker right here. Ooh, that looks really cool. Stable with slight flicker. That's pretty cool. Classic stripe, what does that mean? More like a pulsation that's going through it. Fire with black. Stable with flicker. Oh, that is perfect right there. That is such the lightsaber look. I don't know if you can see it through the front. Yeah, you can. That looks so real. So here's a couple of effects. We got the melting effect. Right there. And then we have stab. I love that. It almost looks like a laser that's coming, like shooting out of it. And then we have swing sounds. And once again, we know what clash is. Blade lockup right there. And this thing feels really solid. No blade wobble. Like, I don't hear wobble at all. And if you have the SE version and you do feel wobble, it's not the blade. Just make sure you twist and tighten the emitter. Now it's really cold outside, so I'm really limited to how much I can spin this. So we're just gonna take it into the kitchen and we'll do some spins with it. Not the fastest because I don't wanna hit anything. So let's take it now. All right, that was fun. Now, while this hilt is a little big and a little heavy, in fact, it's the heaviest of the three that we compared it to, it wasn't really that painful to spin. Now, as it is with all thin necks, despite not having the sharp detailing here, still watch your fingers because it can get caught and it might not be comfortable, but it's a lot more comfortable than all the other Leia sabers we compared to. It's just the reality of dealing with a thin neck, but out of all of them, including the Disney one, this is probably the most fun to spin. But you know which lightsaber wasn't a thin neck? Was Anakin's Youngling Slayer 3000. Check out my review of that right here. And if you want to check out my old review of the LGT Leia lightsaber, I'll put it right here.